What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so before I get into this video, shout out to the brother Eric with the donation to the channel via the Cash App. Salute to you for showing love once again to the channel. I truly appreciate you for showing love and for putting up some good questions up here, man. A lot of you guys have some great questions and different scenarios. I believe that these types of videos, they help your analytical ability, thinking. It's important to physically exercise and to keep your body. You okay? You all right? You okay? It's important to keep your body in shape, but it's also important to keep your mind in shape. Reading, thinking, engaging in conversations with others, even with your diet. But anyway, let's talk about this. So he asked me, what if John Paxson, who of course famously made the game-winning and championship-winning shot in Game 6 of the 1993 NBA Finals, what would have happened if had he missed that shot? And he made that shot with 3.9 seconds remaining on the clock. So Phoenix still had an opportunity to win the game or tie it if somehow somebody got fouled and made one or two free throws. But their last-ditch effort to win the game was nixed when Kevin Johnson's field goal attempt was blocked by Horace Grant, which sometimes gets forgotten in the, with the atmosphere of John Paxson of all people. I'm not trying to lessen what he did, but you know what I mean? It's just, with all the stars out there on the floor, you just didn't think that John Paxson, who was pretty much toward the tail end of his career, would make such a big shot. John Paxson, for his career, shot 35.5% from downtown, which is, by today's standard, about average. But for the times that he played in, most of his career was in the 80s and early 90s, it was a little bit above average. But in the 92-93 season, even though he didn't take a lot of them because he had lost his starting position to B.J. Armstrong, it was his most efficient year from shooting from outside. And a lot was because he really got a lot of good quality looks for the first time of his career. You know what I'm saying? During the regular season, he shot 46.3% from downtown, which would have qualified him to be, I think, the leader in field goal percentage had he, for three-point percentage, had he taken enough attempts. During the postseason, he led the playoffs in percentage with 62.5%, and he led the playoffs in true shooting percentage at 70.8%. So John Paxson making that open shot was pretty much a done deal. But had he missed, I think the game would have been over. I think Phoenix would have won. Had he missed that shot, with Barkley, and I think who's the other guy down there? Was it Mark West? I can't remember who was on the floor. But definitely with Barkley down there, Phoenix probably would have gotten a rebound. If Chicago somehow did, maintain possession of the basketball, by the time they would have gotten the ball and called timeout, it probably would have been no more than 3 seconds left. And Chicago, I don't believe, had any timeouts remaining. So the chances of them making some miraculous field goal, had he missed that three, are very, very low. So I believe it most likely would have went to a Game 7. Had it went to a game 7, I still feel like Chicago had a very good shot at winning the championship. More so, and unlike how I feel about 98. See, I've always said that if the Bulls lost game 6 in Utah, I feel like Utah would have won game 7. And the reason why I feel like that, I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but hear me out. The reason why I feel like Chicago would have lost in Utah in game 7 is because, number one, Scottie Pippen was done after that. Scottie Pippen, when he re-injured his back, he was done. And really, Scottie was a decoy in game 6, really wasn't effective. Scottie would have been pretty much done. Michael Jordan was definitely showing extreme signs of fatigue by that point in that series. They went through a grueling game 7 against Indiana. And you could, if you remember watching in that series, you could start seeing fatigue affecting Jordan's defense. Don't get me wrong; he always came out there and played defense and effectively, but he was a little bit less crisp on that end. I put it like that as he was getting older, and also, when you get tired, it starts affecting your jump shot. And at that point in time, the way the game was played, the paint was clogged. Jordan was older. He wasn't going to drive the hole consistently. He was more or less shooting mid-range jumpers, long mid-range jumpers, the occasional three ball. It was really affecting his efficiency as far as being a great scorer. And I just think that Utah would have been amped up, and I think they would have won at Utah. But in 93, Jordan was a much younger player. This was before baseball, where his physicality changed as far as preparing his body to play baseball, which he never truly recovered from 100% when he went back to basketball. This version of Michael Jordan he still had his explosiveness. He still had the athleticism, maybe just a slight decline, but it was 90%, 95% of what he had been athletically. Plus he had the mid-range expanding and the 3-ball starting to go. And, when you look at his history as far as game 7s, I think he averaged 33, 34 points a game. And in that situation, with him averaging 41 points a game in that finals, I don't see how, with the urgency of that situation, if he scored 45 in game 6 in 98, I see another 50 ball for Mike. In this scenario, I see a 50 ball. And, I think I think Chicago wins on the road in Phoenix. Remember, they won the first 2 games at Phoenix in that series anyway. So it wouldn't have been like a situation where Chicago's going to feel all this pressure. No. If anything, Phoenix is going to feel pressure because they're at home. I know Utah, I keep saying Utah, Jesus. I know that Chicago was the team that were the defending champions. You could argue that they had pressure on them. But in reality, Phoenix was the team that had home court advantage. Phoenix was the team that, Charles Barkley was the MVP. Charles had been crying for a long time that I just needed help. Now he had the help. So he had to come out there and deliver. He delivered in the previous game 7 against the Sonics in the conference finals. We knew Michael Jordan would come out there and have a hellacious game. So Charles had to go out there and match Michael as far as a dominant performance. And they probably would have needed him to go out there and drop, 40 and 20 or something like that. But I think the Bulls would have won in game 7. That's just my opinion. But tell me what you guys think.